Welcome to Shukaboa 100% Vanilla Baby, where I'm trying to make the least vanilla 100% vanilla city you've ever seen in your entire life. Let's load up our last save. As always, thank you, gracias, obrigado, and merci. I had posted a poll in the community tab about how to create this video and got a lot of great feedback. So what would have been one very long episode or one very fast episode will now be broken up into 2 or 3 parts. Building, naming, honor roll, and save game upload to the workshop for this round will be in the following videos. Don't worry. If you're new here, welcome. This is Shukaboa, named after my cat Shuka, who lives with me in Lisboa, Portugal. While using the meow method of detailing, I'm always trying to push the envelope of what is possible with vanilla builds to the absolute limits. In the last video I made, which I recommend you check out if you haven't yet, I created a beautiful lake and bison preserve by exploiting a very simple vanilla game mechanic and using it to my advantage. The neighborhood and nature reserve around the lake was carefully created and zoned to get an awesome look. And it was all tied together using a super slick metro, tram, and bus hub. When we zoom out, we can see the big picture of the city as it exists so far after 16 months of working on it with all of you. Now, this video's project will be all about remastering this vanilla interchange that comes with Roslyn Peninsula map. I'd already done some minor works to the approach and train tracks in this previous video, but the interchange is still the same as it had been. It's actually a pretty good default interchange, much better than many of the ones you see in other maps. But it's been bothering me for a very long time that the ramps are overpass ramps when it's already the highest buildable point of the map. I think it would be a lot smarter and better for fuel economy if we made underpass ramps instead. Despite breaking this video up into parts, I'm still going to be showing this project at carefully edited high speeds. If it's going too fast for you at any point, I suggest you slow things down using YouTube's playback speed button. This is building upon techniques I've explained before, so if you're not sure how to do what I'm doing here, I have a list of some videos in the description that can help show you how to do this like a pro. The first thing we'll do here is completely erase everything so that we have a clean slate to work with. Unfortunately, I can't delete these stubs because they overlap the game tile border. The same goes on this side. If we zoom in for a moment, we see this taxi is getting some serious air. Ay caramba is almost certainly going through the mind of the driver as time stands still and everything is instantly changing around them. Okay, now we'll create the shape of the highway we want. You'll see I often go back and forth from one side to the other, deleting and rebuilding towards the middle. This is an important technique that will help ensure your roads line up well and are super smooth. Lowering the terrain about 50 meters will allow the road to be rebuilt as an elevated segment instead of ground level, setting the stage for where we'll run our underpass ramps. Let's begin putting in our first ramp. I'm not going to use the elevated stub that still remains from the old interchange. It goes up and we want to go down. We'll start with the lower of the 2 ramps, which will be the easiest. All we need to do is follow the shape of the elevated highway using road guidelines and then make a nice curve underneath. While things look smooth for the moment, there will be a lot of double and triple checking as we continue to mess around with terrain and nodes. Now we'll elevate some terrain so that we can begin our underpass ramp that will be an overpass of the first ramp. This will take some trial and error to get things to line up smoothly, but trust me, it's going to be worth it. Remember, this is an organic interchange built in existing terrain. If we were in a flat empty map, it would be pretty straightforward to have exact measurements, like you often see in other tutorial videos. But here in Shukaboa, each interchange is custom made for the exact spot where it lives. It would be pointless to try explaining any precision measurements. I just hope that by watching this, you're able to get some ideas for techniques that you can use to remaster your own interchanges, rather than trying to replicate this exact one. Now I'm looking at it from this side, and it seems that the overpass bridge is too flat relative to the ramp, so I'm going to try it again. A real challenge I'm facing is working with the road stubs from the old interchange. They're not at the right angles, and it takes some effort to get the ramps to look smooth. Of course, here I got the angle right, and then I get a pillar right in the way. The parallel spacing for the highway is 4 cell units, so we'll space our ramp ends that far apart so they join right up with the highway. With this ramp, like I did the other one, I'd like it to use elevated segments so they have built-in safety rails. 2 ramps will have them and 2 won't. The interchange is just about complete. I'll just go back and try to smooth out any segments that look a little lumpy. This one in particular is tricky because of the reduced length of the ramp, but mostly because of the stub node from the old interchange that I just can't modify. Alright, I think that's enough for now. If there's any more smoothing, I'll take care of it in the off-camera detailing. You get the idea. Now it's time to look at the rail connection. If we follow the existing rail line, we see that it has some pretty extreme changes of grade. Ay caramba, that's a severe slope for a train to have to climb. When we get to the other side of it, we see it's pretty flat along the highway. For now. Let's clear out this old track, and in order to make a smarter grade, we'll use the slope terrain tool all the way from the edge of the map and work our way back from the bottom of that hill underneath the neighborhood of Pickling. By doing that, we ensure that we have the smoothest, most gentle slope possible for our trains to climb up this very steep hill. Ah, another pillar in the way. By using a simple trick, I'll add a node on either side of it, creating 2 new pillars. Then, I can delete the center and rebuild it pillar-free. Before fine-tuning the rail bridges, I'll run the track the full length to make sure it's good. Let's go back to this first bridge over the river. I've really been wanting to use the CCP one-way purple rail bridges, so why not do it here? I'll have to carefully lower the river terrain a bit to get the rail bridges to run flat without that rise in the center. Watch what happens when I unpause. There we go. Using gravel roads for node alignment, we'll build the other purple bridge alongside. Let's fill that river back in before we forget. That's looking good for now, but we'll come back to it soon. Let's move over to the other bridge by our remastered interchange. It looks like I'm gonna get lucky in that the elevated bridge segments are lining up straight right from the beginning. Let's extend it one more to length so that we get 3 truss spans. I think that looks extremely gangster, and by gangster I mean cool if that wasn't obvious. Now let's reconnect our rails from in town over to the main line. Oh, here's a little rock that I missed before, and another, wait a second. It's a bison. And a cougar. Ay caramba, this changes everything. I really hadn't seen them here before. So instead of breaking up their habitat with railroad tracks that we know they won't be able to cross, let's run the tracks right across this Scroggins Highway. We can try to cross at an approximately 45-degree angle, but it's going to take some luck to get the pillars to line up in between the highway segments. Can we do it? Alright, we did it on the first try. Awesome. Okay, here we can connect up with the rail line. This turn is going to be a little sharp. I may end up changing that. We'll see. Oops, I accidentally stopped recording there for a second, so let's fade back into where we connect the abandoned railroad track. Now that the tracks aren't so close to the highway, we can redo this highway off-ramp. Also, this bridge is just really silly, so let's rebuild it a little bit smarter. I know that was a very fast-paced video edit, so I really appreciate you watching it. I felt that going slower than that would just make the video feel like it was dragging on. Again, I'm not doing a tutorial here, but rather using specific vanilla techniques to make something very original and realistic. Let's set up here for a detailing fade where I can fill in all the trees and stuff off camera. Okay, a few hours later, for me at least, we're back at the detailed interchange. The first change I want to point out is that I made a separate line instead of having that sharp turn that I tried before for the trains. I think this looks better, and it's still out of the way of the sweet little bisons and cougars. See how the grade is still very gradual and smooth? I haven't replanted the forest that had been here yet because later I want to do some research on the territory of these megafauna that live in this corner of the map. Here's a cougar roaming around right now. Very easy to spot without the trees in the way, so we'll do some research on that in a future episode. As for this stub that I can't delete, I just tried to hide it behind some trees. This should keep the taxis from trying to do sweet jumps. There is a bit of texture bump here also on the main highway, but it looks like it doesn't create any jumps when the cars are driving. Let's take a look. I think we'll just have to live with that barely perceptible flaw. You can see that I've added gravel paths along all of my train tracks. This is something I've done for a long time. As far back as one of my very first detailing episodes well over a year ago, when I first was doing some work in the first tile area. I was detailing that before I even had the train line connected. And so I'll just point out a little technique here. You see how there's this hard edge that goes along the gravel path? If you use different types of vegetation props, then it starts to create an irregular look, which blends it in a little bit better than having that hard line go across. Take a look here. I used pretty much the same vanilla trees that were default on the map, but I sprinkled some vegetation props underneath and around them. This not only looks a little more natural, but it covers up the ground ruining that happens underneath trees. On this side, I hadn't done that, and you can see the sandy spots underneath the trees. Interestingly, the vanilla trees outside of the buildable tile do not have ground ruining. I checked on a brand new map and saw that anytime I purchased a tile, the ruining would appear under the trees, but not before that. I'm not sure why the game does this, but I don't like it one bit. Oh well, something we'll have to live with. Let's return to the other side of the double rail bridge here. The way the rail goes right through this spot means there's not much buildable area. But I've got an idea. We'll extend the forestry industry all the way from Shukinya Beach across the map to this area. When we take a look at the stats, we can see that although I've cheesed the industry to level 5, it's still fairly small and there's no paper being made from raw forest products yet. This is what I would like to put in that spot. Let's relocate these power lines and delete this section of track that I literally just built. Here I'll create a hill and we can make rail tunnels that go right through it. Getting the two tunnels to enter the hill at an appropriate angle is really tricky. Tunnels can change shape a lot from what the preview looks like, so, as in so many other vanilla things, we'll just have to play around with it until it works out right. A little effort in this regard will go a long way in making this look really cool. It is very frustrating sometimes, believe me. I know with Move It, I could easily adjust the node height and segment length. There is no need to remind me. This city is and will always be 100% vanilla, and I stand by the assertion that developing my skills without mods has made me much better at working with them, whenever I do. Okay, the tunnel is complete. I'll just do some quick layer work around them. Let's take a look at how smoothly this train rides along our new tracks. Here we go. Look at that angle. That is definitely an improvement over what was going on before. Now the train's gonna turn left onto the other track and start to descend. So we still have some up and then down, but it's much, much smoother than it had been. Now we've arrived at the Yuktobania station in the very first tile of the map. I know this video was a bit dense with content, trying to get as much speed building done in a 30-minute window as I could. Again, I hope it wasn't too much for you. Please leave a note in the comments if you thought it was okay, or if it was just too fast for you, you'd rather I never did that again. I take these comments very seriously, and I want to make sure I'm doing videos that people will enjoy watching. Remember, this is the first of at least 2 parts, maybe even 3, of this one episode that I had recorded at one time. So, don't forget, stay tuned. This episode is to be continued.